If it isn't a Flirtini where we're going to be talking all about flirting with me, Benjamin, the flirt coach, as your flirt host. How many times can I say flirt? One more for good measure. Flirt, as we talk about flirting in long-term relationships and long distance relationships. I have been getting this question, or really long distance dating, even. I have been getting this question several many times, and I wanted to bring you this topic in a Flirtini today. All right, how am I going to blend these two things together? You'll see. As first things first, we really got to talk about what flirting is at its core. And I'm going to give you my flirting definition here. And that is the flirt is the authentic expression of interest in the present moment without expectations, with the purpose of making a connection. Oh my God, a mouthful, I know, but I always bring it back to the point of connection. I make the flirt about connection first and foremost because it is truly about seeing one another. It is about allowing yourself to be seen. It is about making that point of connection without any pretense, without any expectation, without any manipulation or intent involved other than to make a connection. I see you, you see me. Let's share some energy. Let's vibe. Let's smile. Let's feel good and just see the flirt as an act of service, even as allowing me just to be there for you, to listen to you. A huge part of flirting is listening. And I'm going to focus on long term relationships here at the start. I hear that things can be somewhat routine, right? That you can fall into these roles of what you do for one another. You're going about your day to day lives. I mean, with one another, of course, raising a family, perhaps, but you get caught up in work and in career and then what's going on with the family. And you perhaps lose a little bit of that intimacy. And that is the key word that I want to focus on here with the flirt in long-term relationships is you start to lose a little bit of that intimacy where even your communication can become pretty formulaic. The romance, the spark, right? That kind of leaves perhaps the connection. And so the flirt, as it relates to long term relationships, is about bringing intimacy back into this connection and to create, cultivate, build that intimacy. You've got to focus on the connection first and foremost, really seeing one another for exactly who you are, where you are at, how are you feeling. And sometimes that alone, like it may sound bizarre to have the flirt be a question, hey, like truly, how are you? Like, how are you feeling? What is going on? Tell me everything. I am here. I don't care if we're going to talk for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I just want to feel like I am close to you, like we're building this connection, we're in this relationship, and having the flirt ultimately be about connection to cultivate, create, retain, maintain intimacy in this connection. So that is the tip I have. I've got a few more coming for long-term relationships. Okay, flirty. For flirting in a long-term relationship, as much as the love languages have sort of become a little bit controversial, if you live chronically online like me, I still think learning how someone likes to give and receive attention and affection is helpful. So maybe having a check-in about that could be really useful. Or if you know your partner, your person very well, maybe you don't have to talk about that in detail, but focusing on how someone likes to give and receive affection, going back to these points earlier in the conversation about connection and intimacy, I think will be very, very useful for you. So a few examples here. Let's talk about quality time. When is the last time you had a date night? Just the two of you, or more if you're polyamorous. When's the last time you had a date night? Not at home. Not at home, but out. Going out, right? Doing something, trying a new restaurant or going to a favorite restaurant, enjoying a concert or some type of live event, theater, movie, something like that. Or maybe you want to do a really, really special date night at home and you do some cooking. You could even do one of those meal delivery kits, something like that, or get something maybe pre-made. a little bit chopped, right? You don't have to be the sous chefs yourself, and then prepare it at home. That could be something really fun for you all if you enjoy cooking and preparing meals together. And then doing the lighting, right? You're doing some music, maybe you cue up a favorite movie or TV show. You've got some candlelight going on, and this can be super, super fun just to have quality time between you all that doesn't involve anybody else, that doesn't involve any kind of responsibility. Like you two are collaborating for the purposes of planning, I don't know, your kid's birthday party or something for work, or you're running errands, something like that. Starting to, yes, focus just on the two of you, I think can be really, really great because it's going to allow you to connect and have some intimacy. And maybe that leads to a little bit of physical touch too. You never know, which leads me to my other tip, flirting in long-term relationships, physical touch. If that is important to your relationship, probably not all relationships, but probably you got to bring some of that in. And so I think it can be really, really fun. Maybe as you're there on your date night, right? One of you gets up to go and goes to the bathroom, and you just gently press one hand or both hands on your partner's shoulders, right? Just sort of give them a little bit of a massage. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. We don't have to do a lot of PTA, good Lord, PDA. And then you lean in, you whisper something in your ear, something like, "Oh, I'll be right back." Something like that. It doesn't have to be really romantic, or maybe something like that's going to happen later, or "Oh, I can't wait for dessert," or something like that. Just creating these little moments of physical touch that aren't overtly sexual or sexual in nature can be so, so important again for creating connection and intimacy. So think about how you can start to bring that in. And if this is perhaps a long-term relationship where there hasn't been a lot of physical intimacy, then maybe that is one of the conversations you have before all of this, is just to talk about, hey, like, how do you like to receive physical touch these days, right? Like, what can I do? How can we explore pleasure a little bit and then allow the flirt to also be foreplay? Allow the flirt to be foreplay. Tongue twister there. And really use it to play into this element of the flirt, the T of the flirt, that is tension, excitement, momentum, anticipation, right? Creating some of that, right? Like, I kind of can't wait to jump your bones a little bit. So allowing the flirt to be foreplay, playing with kind of a somewhat non-sexual physical touch, leaning in, whispering in their ear, making eye contact, right? Close physical proximity to the person that you're in a relationship with. This can all be really, really fantastic for flirting and still creating that connection. All right, the other tip I'll offer for long-term relationship flirties is to create some spontaneity, and just some diversity in your routines. And so I always love this story so, so much, where this comes from my family, and they have this pack of action figures that is probably from the dollar store, or maybe they got at a yard sale. Nothing crazy, just little plastic figurines, and they hide them all over the house. They have a few stuffed animals, just really, really silly things that they hide all over the house, and find them, they will find them in the most random places. And it's really, really fun, where you're, I don't know, opening the drawer to put the silverware away from the dishwasher, and then there's this crazy, like, what, why is there a stuffed monkey in there? It's just silly, it's fun, but your person put that in there for you, right? It's just really, really cool. And sometimes they will place a note on these things, like "date night tonight," or "I love you," or "just thinking about you," or they go back and they cultivate, bring up a memory, something they did that was really, really fun and special together, a trip, engagement, wedding, something like that, a special memory. And so I love not only bringing in some of this fun, some of this humor, spontaneity as a way to flirt in a long-term relationship, but also playing on nostalgia, right? Sometimes when we get caught up in life and the flirt seems to go away, perhaps you start to maybe feel disconnected from your person, your partner. Call back some of those memories, call back some of the ways you initially fell in like and then fell in love with one another in the first place. Can be really, really strong and powerful. And then having some of this fun be a part of the flirt, as well. Okay, I'm going to give you one more tip. One more tip for the flirting long-term relationship. And long distance people, I ain't forgot about you. Okay. So playing into those elements of spontaneity and fun, I also want to bring in here the element or way to flirt that involves surprise. So maybe you send your honey to work with a little note in their wallet or their purse or something like that. Or you send them a text message throughout the day that seems unexpected, not something you may typically send, which is a funny selfie or picture or meme or something like that, right? If that is not a part of your natural flirt and communication style, or maybe it was and that seems to have left, play in this element of surprise so you can bring in that element of spontaneity, and that is going to just inject so much life and vitality and energy into the flirt. If it feels like it's been stale or it hasn't been there for a little while and you're struggling to get sort of the mojo back in your connection, play with surprise, fun, spontaneity, humor, playfulness. The flirt is very, very playful. Yes, it is about connection, but it is also about being playful, about being sincere, about truly seeing, witnessing one another and connecting. So I'm going to end this part of the Flirtini focusing on connection, right? Ultimately, how do you want to connect with the person that you are in a long-term relationship with? How do you want to see one another? How do you want to create some intimacy and bring that vibe back and keep it? All right, few tips for long distance dating. And if you're in a long distance relationship, I mean, all of these tips will apply. So use those. And now, specifically, some tips though for long distance dating, right? You're in the dating phase. Well, I think this tip about connection and intimacy is going to be very, very important for you as well, because as you're not able to see one another in person on a regular basis, you're not living together, right? It's going to be very important for you to maintain that connection, to keep up communication, be very consistent, intentional, and diligent with that so that you can continue to have that intimacy and build, grow, nurture the connection, all of that good stuff. So I hope this initial flirt tip is helpful here as now we get into some strategies to flirt. Okay, some tips for long distance dating that quite honestly will work for long term relationships as well. I mean, all these tips thus far I think will be useful and helpful. Is you really got to play with visuals, okay? Because you are not there to see one another with any type of regularity or consistency. I think always having a trip on the books, a time where you're going to see one another, who's going to see who and where, is going to be very, very important. So you have that to look forward to. And then you have to bring yourselves out of this 2D realm where your words on a screen, right? You're texting. You got to take it up a notch and become a fully realized human being. So pictures, very, very important. Voice memos, very, very important. Phone calls, FaceTimes, hell, set up a Zoom, set up a WebEx, okay? Do that. I know it doesn't sound that romantic, but at the end of the day, it's just a video chat. And that's going to be really important. You got to be able to see one another, see one another's facial features, and have that face to face communication. I also love this app Marco Polo. They have a free version. You can download it right on your phone, and it creates this video diary between the two of you where you basically exchange video messages and you can react to them, you can heart them, right? You can smile at them, and it's just really, really fun. So think about the ways that you can play with your communication, which is going to have to be very, very strong. That is going to be key for long distance dating and long term relationships that involve distance communication. Very, very important. Have it be layered, have it be not just three-dimensional, four-dimensional, but five-dimensional. Um, and you can also have virtual date nights, of course. I love having a virtual game between the two of you. So, just as an example, there are many, many out there. Words with Friends, which is virtual Scrabble, right? So you're in there, you're playing against one another, and then they have that in-app chat feature where you're messaging back and forth. Maybe they had a big word or one that got a bunch of points and they took your triple letter and you're like, God damn it, like, how dare you? Or however you might flirt with your person. Okay. So that can be really, really fun thinking about the different ways you can communicate that aren't just, hello, how are you? Right? Like you're texting back and forth, you're calling, having it be really, really fun and interesting as well is just going to keep some life, some vitality, some spice, some variety into the ways that you are able to communicate. Okay. Yes, I think that will be very, very helpful. And then you spice it up as you wish. So maybe your pictures, you have a shirt off or something like that. Maybe your pictures show a little skin. Okay. Where are you at in the dating process? Yeah. I think that can be really very interesting, especially with the voice memos. Okay. Love that. A date night that gets a little spicy. I indeed am an advocate for that if you are there, if that is where you're at with this connection, if that is what you are comfortable with. You got to respect your boundaries and they got to respect your boundaries as well. That respect goes both ways. But if tops have come off, you've seen each other naked. Well, why stop just because you're not in person, okay? If you want to share pictures like on a Snapchat or Instagram DM, something like that, to have the disappearing photo feature, if that feels more comfortable and safe to you, then by all means do that. But if you are dating long distance and in a long-term relationship at that via distance, you got to keep that spice alive. Very critical and very important. Important? Why'd I say it like that? All right, couple more tips, and then we're done. We're done. You can get out of here. All right, a few more tips for long distance dating and flirting. Thinking about the element of surprise once more. Can you send them something? Maybe a letter, good old snail mail. Can you send them something simple? Doesn't have to be expensive at all from even Amazon. Can you DoorDash them lunch or dinner? Did you know that they have a hard day or maybe a meeting that went really long? They're getting home late. Can you DoorDash Uber Eats them? What do you have internationally? That's maybe something different what do you have internationally that you could send someone some dinner, some food, maybe a few groceries, right? It's been a crazy week. They haven't been able to get to the grocery store. Yeah, hell, send them some, bread and milk or something they might like, right? So I love that element of surprise, and it's just going to create this moment of connection, even though you're not there, right there in front of their face. Get the words out, Benjamin. And again, that is going to deepen the connection. And so one more tip, thinking about the ways you can communicate and just be able to witness, validate, acknowledge, connect with one another. Music, such a big one. Can you create a shared playlist between the two of you on, let's just say, a platform like Spotify or really any platform, YouTube Music, Apple, whatever you may use? Can you send songs back and forth with one another? Maybe you are watching a show together. Maybe you're reading a book together. Something like that. So think about the ways that you can connect that aren't necessarily just talking, that aren't just planning that trip to see one another, that aren't just being face to face when you are able to spend time with one another in person. And then finally, when you do have that time together, take pictures, take those pictures, and then you can send them to one another. And it's going to create or help cultivate, build, right? This nostalgia, the memories, and overall just deepen the connection between the two of you. As I hope all of these tips today for flirting in long-term relationships and via long distance, maybe the two overlap for you, are ultimately just all about connection, connection, connection. That is what the flirt is about, as I see it, as I frame it, as I talk about it. Indeed, my whole mission as the flirt coach is connection, just to help empower you to make connections with others, flirting, dating, platonically, romantically, with friends, with neighbors, and in the process, deepen the connection with yourself as well. That is what I am all about. All right. Thank you so, so much for listening to this Flirtini Flirty. My name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and gay Libra signing off from here at Flirt headquarters. Please give this show a rating if you haven't already. I can't tell you how much it means to me and how much it helps me grow the show. And it is indeed growing. It is so exciting to see. So thank you for being here. And I will see you again very soon online on the socials or in the next flirtation or flirtini. Okay, flirty. Happy flirting.